Chukwu has bad weeks. At least that's what he calls them. Bad luck, he tells his friends. Another week where his eating went off track, his workouts didn't happen, his energy crashed, his progress stalled. It always seems to happen out of nowhere, unpredictable, unavoidable, just his bad luck. Except it's not luck, and it's not random. There's a pattern, he just hasn't learned to see it yet. I'm Ayo, and I've got your raw daily fuel for today. Listen carefully. What you keep calling bad luck is actually an unrecognized pattern. The same triggers happening over and over, the same responses creating the same outcomes. You think it's chance, but it's consistency. Negative consistency, but consistency all the same. Today we're talking about the pattern you keep calling bad luck and how naming that pattern is the first step to breaking it. Here's what most people don't understand. Repeated outcomes come from repeated patterns. Not bad luck, not randomness, not the universe conspiring against you. If the same negative result keeps showing up in your life, missed workouts, derailed eating, energy crashes, inconsistent progress, there's a pattern creating it. In Nigeria, we have a saying, if you want to know where the rain is coming from, look at where the water is flowing. Your outcomes are the water, your patterns are the source. Stop staring at the puddles wondering why you're always wet. Trace the flow back to its origin. Your bad weeks aren't random events, they are predictable responses to specific triggers. Most people never map those triggers. They just experience the outcome, call it bad luck, and wait for the next storm to hit. Bad weeks usually have predictable triggers. Think about the last time your routine fell apart. What happened right before that? Was it a stressful day at work? A difficult conversation? A social event where you felt out of control? Too many late nights in a row? A schedule change? Travel? Now think about the time before that when your routine collapsed. What was the trigger then? I'm willing to bet it's remarkably similar. And the time before that? The same pattern, hiding in plain sight. The trigger might be stress. It might be disruption to your normal schedule. It might be social pressure. It might be exhaustion. It might be feeling overwhelmed. But whatever it is, it's consistent. You're not experiencing random bad luck. You're experiencing the same trigger, creating the same cascade of decisions that lead to the same outcomes. Name the trigger, change the pattern. This is where your power lives, not in hoping for better luck, not in waiting for circumstances to improve, but in identifying the specific trigger that starts the negative cascade and intervening before the pattern completes itself. When you can name your trigger, you reclaim control. I'm not having bad luck. I have a pattern where work stress on Tuesday leads to skipped workouts, which leads to poor food choices, which leads to low energy Wednesday, which derails my entire week. Now you have something you can work with. Now you can interrupt the pattern at the source instead of fighting the downstream consequences. In Lagos, we understand something about patterns. They are invisible until you name them. And once you name them, you can never unsee them. That's both the challenge and the gift. The challenge is most people never do the work to name their patterns. The gift is once you do, the pattern loses its power over you. Small decisions create the big results you live with. This is what people miss when they are calling it bad luck. They think the problem is the big outcome. The weight they gained, the fitness they lost, the consistency they broke. But the big outcome is just a result of the 100 small decisions that followed a predictable pattern. The decision that actually matters happened way upstream. It was the decision to walk through lunch when you were already stressed, which meant you were exhausted by evening, which meant you skipped the workout, which meant you ordered takeout instead of cooking, which meant you stayed up late feeling bad about your choices, which meant you were tired the next day, and the cascade continued. You're not unlucky. You're following a pattern. And the moment you see that, everything changes. Awareness is the first form of control. You can't change what you can't see. Most people are living out patterns they've never examined, blaming luck or circumstances or genetics or anything other than the predictable sequence of decisions they're making in response to predictable triggers. Awareness doesn't solve the problem immediately, but it's the necessary first step. When you become aware of your triggers, when you can feel that moment when stress hits and you know what's about to happen, you create a decision point. You create the possibility of a different response. That's where change lives, not in hoping the trigger goes away, not in blaming yourself for having the trigger, but in recognizing the trigger and choosing a different response than the one the pattern demands. Here's your challenge for this week, and it's going to reveal patterns you didn't know you had. Track your triggers. Every time your routine breaks, every time your eating goes off plan, every time your energy crashes or your motivation disappears, write down what happened in the 24 hours before that moment. Don't judge it. Don't try to fix it yet. Just observe and record. What was the trigger? By the end of the week, you'll see patterns you've been calling bad luck for years. Name them. Write them down. When X happens, I tend to respond with Y, which creates outcome Z. That's your pattern. And now that you can see it, you can change it. You'll discover something powerful. You're not unlucky. You're unaware. And awareness is the first form of control. Once you see your patterns, you can interrupt them. Once you name your triggers, you can prepare for them. Once you stop calling it bad luck, you can start calling it what it actually is. A pattern you have the power in to change. When the same outcome keeps showing up, stop blaming luck and start mapping the pattern. When you feel like everything is falling apart again, ask yourself, what's the trigger? When you want different results, create different responses to the same old triggers. I'm Ayo, and that's your raw daily fuel for today. Remember, repeated outcomes come from repeated patterns. Name the pattern, change your life.